Now here, chapter 7 talks about monopoly, and monopoly is the other side of competition, and that's when we have only one producer. And the essence of market power is the ability to alter prices of a good or a service. So once you are a business and you can change prices and you have the power to set your price up or down, that becomes some sort of a market power. And monopoly is the one firm that will produce the entire market supply of a particular good or service. So the example we talked about this cancer pill, that I am the only one who discovered it, and therefore I can sell it for 10,000, for 5,000, for 200. It's up to me. And you want to know this? There is the one medicine they sell it for $3,000 for leukemia. Do you know leukemia, like cancer in the blood? Now it's a $3,000 medication. And, there was this big intervention, and then one of the people there said, you know what, the company, they had this idea, they said, we want no patient behind. And one of the people there was from Yemen and said, you know what, we've got in Yemen, and gave them the statistics of leukemia, and these people, they just do not afford it. And then the company decided to drop the price from $3,000 to like $300. And it was the company's decision, and they did not lose. They actually made profits. And it was just because they have the power to set up prices. And do you see, is this bad? What do you think of this manager? Sells it for $3,000 and then decided to sell it for $300. And tomorrow we'll go back to $3,000. Do you think these people are bad? Is it unethical? Is it bad? How many people say it's bad? Wow. How many people say no? This is monopoly and market dynamics, and this is what capitalism talks about. And Adam Smith completely agrees with this idea that if you have the invention to make this pill to solve cancer, you have the right to sell it for $10,000 because that will pay for the profits that you have dreamed of. And because of your intellectual capacity, creativity, and environment, you are entitled to this money, and therefore, congratulations for the $10,000. You see, this is the mentality of monopolies. Do you see? Some people say, "Wow, this is bad." Now, someone go talk to Yemen and tell them, that their service is very bad. Their lines are not great. They're not very easily accessible. And their prices are very expensive. You see, how many people agree with this? You see, this is because it's a monopoly. Someone go talk to YemenNet and tells them how their internet is slow and full of interruption, very expensive. Whatever we pay here, we should get 1,000 times the services in any other place in the world, right? So this is a monopoly. There's one firm, and this one firm is really producing the entire market supply. Now, since there is only one firm in a monopoly, then the firm is the industry. So if we talk about the international calls industry in Yemen, it's still Yemen. Talk about the internet industry in Yemen, it's YemenNet.
Internet via satellite?
It's also till Yemen.
No, he means the Emirati.
It's if you go through Yaklik, it has to go through Til Yemen. If it doesn't go through Til Yemen, by law, it's illegal. Do you see? Now, monopoly equals an industry, and the firm's demand curve is identical to the market demand curve for this product. And monopoly demand is the total quantities of goods and services people are willing and able to buy at alternative prices in a given time period. This is the definition from chapter 3. And then we talked about prices versus marginal revenue. Now let's see, marginal revenue is the change in total revenue that results from a 1 unit increase in quantity sold. Are you guys okay with this definition of marginal revenue? So marginal revenue is how much revenue you'll get to produce one more unit. Remember what happened in the previous chapter when we talked about competition? We said if I produce one more unit, I will sell it for what price? For the market price. So if I'm here and we're doing the mango for 5, I do one more, I will sell it for 5. I do one more for 5. But here, it's a little bit different. Remember, if I do one more, it's not going to be the same price. It's going to continuously decrease. Prices equal marginal revenues only for perfectly competitive markets. Okay? Now, marginal revenue is always less than the price in a monopolist. And that's a new difference in monopoly. Their marginal revenue is not equal to the price. Their marginal revenue is always less than the price. Okay? Now, let's see. Monopolists, they can sell additional units, additional outputs, only if it reduces price. Remember, I can sell the first 1,000 for 10,000 each, but the second 1,000 I have to drop to 8,000. You see, and that's another difference. Marginal revenue, it lies below the demand curve at every point but the first. Okay, now let's see. Total revenue before price reduction, 1 ton times 6,000 per ton equals 6,000. Okay, now how much is the total revenue after price reduction? If I do 2 tons, then I will have to sell them for 5,000. I can no longer do 6,000, and this will equal $10,000. So here for the 2 tons, so each ton will be how much? 5. Now marginal revenue will be 10,000 minus the 6 will equal 4,000. Did you guys understand this?
No.
So from 1 to 2, if I do 1, I will get $10,000. If I do 1, $6,000. If I do 2, I will get $10,000. So the difference between the 6 and the 10 is the 4, which is how much revenue on the margin for that one additional unit. Let's look at these numbers. These are like easy numbers, okay? We've got these points A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then this is the quantity. If I sell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, how much is the price? If I do 1, I will sell it for $13. Now, if I do 2, can I sell it for 13? No. I have to sell it for 12. If I sell 3, can I sell them at the 12 right? No, I cannot do it at 12. I have to do it at 11. If I sell 4, I have to go to 10, and so on. So as I increases the number of units I want to sell, then I have to drop the price in order to sell it, because that's the demand curve. Now, the total revenue, it will be, this multiplied by this. So 13. 2 multiplied by 12, 24. 3 by 11, 33. 4 by 10, 40. 5 by 9, 45. 6 by 8, 48. 7 by 7, 49. Now, this is the total revenues. If I sell 5, how much is my total revenue? 48. Right? Now, how much is my marginal revenue? Marginal revenue for the second unit, 42 minus 13, 11. 33 minus 24, 9. 40 minus 30, 7. 45 minus 45. 48 minus 45, 3. 49 minus 48, 1. So you can see the marginal revenue is also decreasing. Now, if I take all of these and I put them on a graph, do you know how it will look like? This is how it will look like. Here, 13, and then 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. This is demand curve, which is prices. Now here will be the other marginal revenues. Now these, I can get them where from? From this column here. 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, 1, which is this. This is 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. Are you guys okay with this? So this is demand curve. This is marginal revenue. Okay? Marginal revenue is less than prices in a monopoly. That's the rule. Okay? So marginal revenue in a monopoly, it is decreasing less than the price. In a competitive market, it's exactly like the price, and it's a straight line. Monopoly behavior. What happens with a monopoly? A monopolist, they must make a pricing decision that will perfectly competitive firms never make. Okay? Now let's see. The profit maximization. The monopolist, they will use profit maximization rule to determine its rate of output. So how many should a monopolist produce? Do they follow the same thinking like the competition? Yes. What do they do? If I make one and I will get more money than it costs, I make it. If I make it and it will cost me more than how much money I will get, I stop. So the same idea. Now here, according to the rule, the monopolist will maximize profits at the rate of output where MR equals MC. This is the most important equation in the entire science of economics. Marginal cost equals marginal revenue. That's how much you produce. Okay? So you always stop at marginal cost equals marginal revenue. This rule in both monopoly or perfect competition. And the idea is basic. If I make 1 unit and it will give me money equal to how much it costs, I do it. If it will cost me more, I stop. Now here, we look at this profit maximization rule in all firms. Perfectly competitive market, they produce where MR equals MC. And in the perfect competition, it will also equal P. Because the price equals the marginal cost, and they will stop it when it equals marginal cost. Revenue equals marginal cost. Now, a monopolist, they will produce at the quantity where MC also equals MR. But here, in this case, the price will always be greater. So, choosing the rate of output is a firm's production decision. The selection of a short-term rate of output, which existing plants and equipment, the monopolist will find the rate of output where the marginal revenue and marginal cost curves intersect. So whenever they intersect, that's when they continue. And this is the monopoly prices. The intersection of a marginal revenue and marginal cost curves, they will establish profit maximization rate of output. Let's do this on a graph. Let's see if we will understand better. Now, this is an example of demand curve. And let's say this business is an example of monopoly. Now, this is the marginal revenue. Okay? So this is MR. Okay? Remember this? This is MC, marginal cost. Now, if this is a monopoly, where do they produce? They will see wherever they intersect, we produce 4. Okay? You go to the intersection, and then you do that only. Okay? So the demand curve will tell us the highest price. Now, if they do it here, what is the price they sell? No. This is what you do. How do you know the price? You will see this point, it touches the demand curve. And then the demand curve will tell you the selling price. Do you see? So, monopolists, they produce less, they charge more, which is like Yemen. They charge you a lot and they give you slow. You see? And here we've got only one price is compatible with the profit maximization rate of output. So this is the curves. Here, let me do this. Here we've got, Here, this is the demand curve, right? This is marginal cost, which is almost like the supply. Okay. Now here, we've got the marginal revenue. They intersect right here in point D. They produce 4, and they charge customers D10. Okay? Now, if this is the average total cost, then this is how much on average it will cost them. So in this example here, they will sell the product for $10. It will cost each unit on average $8. Their total profit will be 2 multiplied by 4, so that's total of 8. And their marginal cost will equal their marginal revenue at this point here, which will make them produce only 4 units. Are you guys okay with this graph?
Yes.
No?
The problem is with
Now let's see. Let's look at the graph again, okay? Pay attention one more time. This is the demand curve. Remember demand curve, which is just like that demand curve. Okay? Now remember, this is the marginal revenue. This is the new line that we discovered, which is this line here, which is marginal revenue. And this line is always less. And how did we get this curve? Maybe we can go back to see how we got the marginal revenue curve. Let's see. This is the marginal revenue curve. This is marginal revenue. This is how we calculated it, if you remember. And this is how it looked like on the curve. You see, this is demand, this is marginal revenue. And this only happens with the monopolies. Okay? And so based on that, then we're going to see the other curves. Now here, the other curves, we have, this is the marginal cost. So this marginal cost is from like previous chapter. It's a curve that goes up, okay? And wherever marginal cost equals marginal revenue, that's where they should stop, okay? Why? Because if they produce 4 units, item number 4, it will cost them 7. And item number 4, it will generate revenue more than, it will generate revenue of 7. So that's why the 7 equals the 7, it will equal, they're equal, so that's when you should stop. Now let's say unit number 5. If you decide to do unit number 5, unit number 5, it is going to give you only $5 more of revenues, and it will cost you $9. Should you do it? No. Never do unit number 5. Only do unit number 4 and stop.
And why not only 3? I mean,
Now, if you do unit number 3, see, on unit number 3, it will cost you 5, plus it can generate $9 of revenue. That's great. Do it. Do 3. Do I do 4? Do 4. Do I do 5? No. Do you see? So that's when you stop. Now, of course, if you do 4, how much will you sell it for? You sell it for $10 because people are willing to pay $10. That's the demand curve. How much people are willing and able to pay. So here we've got $10, and how much it will cost you on average? Like this is like the average cost. It will average 8 per unit. Now, of course, this is the average cost for if you do all the 4. So the total cost for producing 4 units, it will be 8 multiplied by 4. This is the total area of total cost. Total revenue is going to be $10 multiplied by 4, $40. Profits is $2 per unit. So 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. So that's $8 of profits. Are you guys okay with this?
Yeah.
Anyone is lost, raise your hand. If you are lost but you don't want to say that you are lost, raise your hand. That's great. If you are okay, raise your hand. That is amazing. Let's see, some people didn't raise their hand. Asma, did you raise your hand? No? Are you lost? What part are you not lost in? Did you understand? Let's go through it one more time just to make sure that we're okay? Let's see. We've got here the demand curve. Do you see the demand curve? Now, let's see. In this market, if there's only 1 unit, how much would be a good price for it? If there's only 1 unit, how much is a good price to sell it? $13. Do you see it? It's right there. This is the 13. If there's only 1 unit, we'll sell it for 13. Remember, if there is 1 unit, we sell it for $10. Yeah. You remember the same thing. So if there are 5, we can sell it for 5. If there are 10, we sell it for 1. So if there are 8 units, how much we can sell it for? For 6. Okay. If we make 8 units, we can sell each one for $6. That's the demand curve. Now let's look at this marginal revenue, which means how much I get if I do only that one additional. You understand the marginal revenue? It means with the second point, how much? Now here, the first unit, how much money do I get addition? How much marginal, how much additional money I gain if I sell that first one? I get $13. Now if I do a second one, how much money do I make in addition? 11. Do you see 11? Do you see the, this is the point 11 here. Here's the 11. This is the 11 point. Do you see it? So that's the marginal revenue. Okay. Now marginal revenue curve, it goes like that. Now we also have the marginal cost. The marginal cost is a curve that always go up. Remember, this is how I made it. I made it look like a check. Okay, so you remember. Marginal cost. This is how it marginal cost always. So this marginal cost, wherever they meet with the marginal revenue, that is the point when the firm monopoly should stop. Okay. So for this monopoly, if they make this pill for cancer, should they make 1,000, 2,000? How much should they make?
100.
They should make, based on this graph, 4. Okay. They make only 4 and then they stop. If they do 5, they will lose on the 5th. Okay. If they do number 5, it will cost them 9. They will get 9 more cost and they will only get 5 more revenue. So they shouldn't do number 5. Just do number 4. Are you guys okay with this? Are you okay now?
I just have one question.
Yes.
The demand curve. How
Yes.
can you draw it? Who is the one responsible for determining the demand curve? Because you are monopoly market. You are the only one to determine the
You
price.
test. Remember when we talk about trial and error? You test. You see, you test.
You start with the number of
Yeah, for example, here in Yemen, just keep the same example there. Medicine for cancer, right? You say I have a medicine for cancer, $10,000. How many people will come to you buy? Okay, we will do special discount, we will sell it for 9,000. You see how many people will come to you. And then you make the curve. And then you've got the people who do the mathematics and econometrics. And there's a field of economics, it's called econometrics. You know the word metric? Like meter. Now there's an econometrics, it's a field of economics, and its specialty is to use statistical analysis to generate economic models. So these people, they will actually make this into equations. Do you have any engineers in the class? Like people coming, anyone have studied calculus? Remember when you have curves? And so this idea, you use mathematics to make these models, and you actually, this will be the problem in an econometrics class. They will tell you the demand curve, y equals 3x, negative 3x plus 9, and this will equal, y equals x squared plus 2. And then they will tell you, you find the first derivative, which will be the marginal revenue. And then they will, you see, so you go into integration, which is the total cost. So this becomes like very intense mathematics to determine these. Any other questions on this? All right, great. So let's see. So this monopoly profit, total profit will equal per unit times the total number of units. This is how we calculate it. We'll take the price minus the average total cost. That's the 10 minus 8. This will equal the total profit, which is $2. Profit can also be calculated by subtracting total revenue minus the total cost. And this is an example of a curve that show you here, what happens at each of these the different points. So here, monopolies versus competition. Remember what happened in a monopoly, and remember what happened in a competition. This is good.